Moving on to other stories now, wrapping up his visit to Seoul, America's top nuke envoy met with the nation's Unification minister. They discussed ways to cooperate on resuming dialogue between the two Koreas and the U.S. Dami brings the highlights from that session.
In their meeting on Tuesday, South Korea's Unification Minister Lee In-young and the top U.S. nuclear envoy Sung Kim exchanged their overall views of the situation on the Korean Peninsula and discussed ways to cooperate for the early resumption of dialogue between the two Koreas and between the North and the U.S. According to Seoul's Unification Ministry, he underscored the need to manage the situation on the peninsula in a stable manner. The two reviewed the situation along with prospects for the future. Minister Lee further voiced hope for a fruitful outcome of the allies' efforts with the North. The U.S. envoy also reiterated that Washington harbors no hostile intent toward Pyongyang and reaffirmed the need for close cooperation between the South and the U.S. in resolving Korean Peninsula issues through diplomacy, including humanitarian cooperation. Also on Tuesday, South Korea's chief nuclear envoy No Kyu-duk met with his Russian counterpart, Igor Morgulov, and explored ways to achieve complete denuclearization and lasting peace on the peninsula. In response to No's request for Moscow's support in bringing Pyongyang back to the negotiating table, Morgulov agreed that it's important to resume talks with the North and said Russia will contribute to achieving peace. He also invited No to Russia for further discussions. This was the first meeting between these two officials, coming more than 2.5 years since the Russian envoy last came to Seoul. The day before on Monday, Sung Kim and Igor Morgulov also met in Seoul, where they seem to have discussed a cooperation to bring the regime back to dialogue. In addition, holding their second face-to-face talks in 2 months, Seoul's chief nuclear negotiator No met with Kim to discuss ways to manage the peninsula affairs in a stable way and touched on the issues of providing the North with humanitarian aid, particularly amid the pandemic. The series of bilateral meetings focusing on reviving the nuclear talks with Pyongyang come as the regime strongly protests the ongoing Seoul-Washington joint military exercises. Dami, Arirang News.